Hey guys, it's Kevin here from lp24audio.com. Me and Charlie, that is. We're going to show you, mainly myself, I'm going to show you how to properly layer, have a little nap, how to layer Supersaws. Okay, now this might be old news for some of you, but hopefully I show you a new way to think about it. Okay. Anyways, here we are. So first of all, most of you will probably just grab a serum and or some of your favorite Supersaw synths, there are many of course, and do one of these maneuvers. Bring your unison or unisono up, detune it a bit, blend it, call it a day, right? Well, you might put a little bit of processing on it as well, like some expansion and reverb. Give it that kind of more epic feel. Some people add release time, people add this and that and the other, but that's not what this is all about. This is more like how do we get the best out of our Supersaws. And one way to go about it, thinking about it, that is grab another serum that is monoed out, okay, and it's going to be not a supersaw but a straight saw wave, preferably phase and randomness are off in this one. This is kind of your stable centered saw wave. Okay, the last one we did has some width to it and detuning, right? A supersaw is the act of detuning in small increments the pitch of a waveform and then mixing it with itself. What do you think, Chuck? Yeah, he likes that. Okay, so the trick with this one is no dimension expander, and in your global, make the width 0. Believe it or not, even when unison is 0, or unison's off, and your width is 0, it makes your saw mono. Okay, if this is up, which is the default by the way on your knit patch, then your saw will be in stereo. Okay, which can be fine, but in this case I want it completely monoed out center. That's saw wave number 2. Why is this open? Okay, now saw wave number 3. Let's look at this. Or listen to it first. Okay, what do you notice? Hopefully you guessed proper. We got no unison. We also have plenty of distortion on it. I chose tube just because I like the sound of it. Little bit of reverb, the same kind of size and amount. And what else was different about it? Well, it sounds up an octave, right? There's where the original is. And I added white noise. White noise simulates distortion. Okay, if you run it through distortion, it gets even brighter. So that's what I've done. I add a little grit to the sound. So this is what I call the grit layer. And also in my global, this one is wide. Okay, so it doesn't need to be monoed out in this case. The idea here is we got 3 different attitudes going on. We got a really wide, kind of further away sounding one because of the reverb and the unison width. And that chorus C phase cancellation sound that we like on a supersaw. And then this one holds down the center of the mix. Okay, we need that. We need that. Trust me, when you go to mono, like on a club system or something, you're going to want to hear that layer in there, because this one, when you turn into mono, will have a few volume difference, or a little volume difference. Okay, and then we have this layer here. We'll add a little bit of edge to your supersaw. So all together, and you mix it to taste. It depends on the track you're working on, right? But here's what most of you might do: one supersaw. Okay, ideally you run all this through a bus or some kind of unit that will help you glue the sounds together. So let's just run the output straight into bus 1 here, and just to demonstrate, of course this stuff depends on your mix and the attitude you want from your saws, but Generally speaking, you give a little bit of compression or an extreme amount, depending what you want to do. I'm going to do a parallel process here, which is called New York style compression, and it involves a compressor and an EQ. Essentially what you do is you compress the living daylights out of it, and then you mix it in to be what's called parallel, okay, or mix in the dry and wet signal about to taste. Usually the more you compress, the larger the gain reduction, the less amount I need to mix it in. But let's have a listen. Okay, so there's 10 dB of reduction. Let's go even more extreme, 30 dB. So what do you notice? Well, the attack's a little crude. That's because my threshold's ridiculous. Now let's kind of fix some of that a bit. Make my ratio higher. Okay, notice it breathes a bit. I'm going to turn limiter on just to protect myself. Now, mix that out. We'll make it fade. Okay. So there's before, here's after. I'm showing you the extreme so you can easily hear it, but this is one of those things you got to fine tune with your mix depending what style you're going for, like I probably said before. Now, what's the last thing for New York style compression? Add an EQ after that. I'm going to go linear phase just because that's the one I clicked, no particular other reason. But I know a lot of you high pass everything, right? Well, I'm going to argue that that's not always a good idea. Okay, so we're going to boost the low and the high end on this one and see what happens. It is clipping, so that's bad news. Let's show the output a bit. Okay, now of course this stuff depends on your mix. How many times have I said that? Okay, so you need to realize that, okay, if you have a bass instrument in this area, say, sub frequencies, 40 hertz, 100 hertz, something below that, then yeah, you might want to do high pass on this, but in the end, use your ears, don't use convention, okay? A lot of people repeat ideas. But this is New York style compression. Again, you don't have to repeat it, but it is good to know how to use it, when to use it, and why to use it, more importantly perhaps. And why would be because a compressor, when you do extreme compression, it tends to emphasize the mid-range. So what they decided to do, this is an earlier kind of engineering move with analog consoles and whatnot, is you boost the lows and highs, which is essentially the same as dipping the mids. You could argue about that all day, but we won't. And what happens is you kind of rebalance the sound out. I'm going to do a little less extreme on this one. That's 12 dB. Let's do like 7. So here's before parallel compression. Now some people might take this even further. They might saturate before the compressor. They might add all kinds of wideners and all that stuff. But to me, the most important part of sound design really is, one, knowing your track. I've said that a bunch of times, and knowing what's appropriate for your track. And two, doing it at the sound source if possible. Now, adding a bunch of processing, I'm not against. I do it very often, but most of the time I resort to doing it on the track itself in the synth, with some exceptions, like maybe I want to widen the whole thing because they're not wide already. Okay, my sound source isn't wide. But in this case, I took particular attention to the fact that I had myself covered. I had some width on this layer. I had some mono centered information in this layer, and then I had some edgier layer. So I might not need to saturate, widen, and do all these extra processes to the whole group because I did it at the sound source. So that's a good sound design lesson to kind of consider and, think while you're creating, right? Just repeat what you've been told. Think about how this works with your song, okay? So I'm going to give you guys this project file. It's not very complex, but the idea is that you can study it maybe on your own time and look at the settings, or just repeat it yourself in your song and then make the tweaks accordingly. So hope that helped you. Again, check out our website, lp24audio.com. Thanks for watching.